Joe, and thanks particularly to Fiona Winning for inviting me to address this important gathering of the tribe. In 2006, I was at a Cinars Performing Arts Market in Montreal. It was late at night. I was lost in a fog of jet lag and alcohol, and I also had that particular feeling you get at performing arts markets and large gatherings, a kind of introverted loneliness and fear. And I was wandering through the bar, and there was a table full of Irish festival directors, and they invited me over for a drink. Dangerous. I went to join them, and they ordered me a pint, and they asked me in an Irish accent, which for all of our sakes I won't repeat. They asked me, "So, Yaron, tell us what's so great about Circa." And speaking from my alcohol, jet-lagged, insecurity-fueled state, I said, "You know what? I'm really tired of being asked by festival directors what's so great about Circa. I want to know what's so great about your festival. But I want to schlep my sorry ass and the tired bodies of my acrobats halfway across the world to perform at it. What is so compelling in your curatorial vision, so necessary in your relationship to your audiences, that we're going to go there?" Every single person at that table offered to buy our show. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that the way to form meaningful partnerships is to abuse festival directors. I know several, and some of them are not entirely bad. Rather, I'm trying to suggest a deeper point, which is that partnerships are essentially human constructions. They speak of the mutuality, the interdependence, the necessity that people have for each other. And like that, they are full of the complexities, the fraughtness, and the fantasticness of all human connections. They require from us, and we've learnt this through hard trial and error, honesty, openness, respect, and love, and they don't always work. We've enjoyed and experienced a range of partnerships, and I'll just want to talk about some of those briefly. The first category I call the well-intentioned failure. And that's when you work with people who aren't the right people, or the project understanding isn't right. So for instance, when Waiting for Godot appeared in Atlanta for its US premiere, it was hailed as the comedy sensation of two continents. And that was never going to work. We've similarly been to festivals where Circus work, which is searching, adventurous circus, gets sold as, fun family entertainment. That doesn't always work. We've worked with fantastic artists who've been there for the wrong reasons, or haven't slotted into the circus culture, or circus culture has been unable to adapt to them, as with arts workers. There's nothing wrong in this, it's just a natural part of life. Not every date you go on turns out successfully, not every relationship you have lasts. And learning to forgive yourself and learn the lessons that are there to be learnt is a really important part of a successful life of partnering. Then there are the arseholes. And luckily we've avoided, they might just get soft then, we're not allowed to say that. Luckily we've avoided too many of them. Most of the people we've worked with have been fantastic. But there are the unscrupulous, the inexperienced, the downright shabby. One particularly large, non-square venue in London cancelled a very major contract on us after sending a baby producer to negotiate what an adult should have done. The contract was cancelled through no fault of our own. We were in full compliance with the contract and caused grave damage to our company. That's one particularly heinous example. On the other side, and most of the partnerships that we experience are partnerships that are really fueled by respect and by love and by honesty. And one example which I'm very proud of is we had two venues, little festivals, 2 nights each on either side of that large engagement in the UK that got cancelled. And we brought our entire company over to Europe twice at our own expense to do those performances, because we didn't want to perpetuate a cycle of it's okay to pull out or it's okay to break your word. We promised we were going to be at those festivals, and we were, even though it cost us money in a time where clearly we were financially challenged because we'd lost a very major contract. I was proud of that, and I was proud of our board and the company itself for taking their bodies over there twice, and both of them were very successful and have led to repeat bookings. Among the other partnerships that I'm most proud of, I'm really proud of our partnerships with our artists. We have an ensemble of 14 performers and we employ between 3 and 7 casual performers at any given time. Our current performers age and range from 16 to 44. They're all high-level acrobats working around the world, and they're all Australian. They do us the honour of giving us their bodies and their creative spirits at the most productive and physically able times of their life. Acrobats are not endless, they run out. And they come and work with us at that time. We have to repay that honour, and we have to respect it by giving them opportunities to grow in skills, grow as artists and as people, make a difference to their art form and to their culture. Try and make genuinely new work and take it around the world. And we're very lucky to enjoy this, but it has to be formed on the basis of a partnership. It's not one way or the other. I'm proud of our relationship with our agents. We have one in particular agent, Paul Tongay, who supervises all of our bookings. He's based in Montreal. And a number of years ago, at that same Cinars, we showcased, and he came up to the bald, fat, bespectacled stage manager and said, that was amazing, I don't know anything about you, could you please show me your director? And I said, look, that's me, but I've got to finish mopping the floor and rolling the mats up. Can we meet later? I talk to Paul probably more than I talk to most of my family members. We give each other an incredibly hard time. We have to push every date, every booking, every travel day, every per diem, every single detail gets fought and argued over, but that's what a true partnership has, if it's based on love and on respect. Similarly, I'm particularly proud of our relationship with our funding bodies and partners. Not just the fact that we're funded, which we are and thankful for it, but because we have to have a different kind of a conversation. Circa in the last year or so has entered uncharted territory. We're kind of a small to medium sector company funded as a key organisation, but now larger than some of the smaller major operations board companies. We don't know what to do. We need to have a conversation that's more robust, that looks at how can we build something from the sector that's sustainable, that's successful, that grows, but still retains its artistic edge and vibrancy. That's a really new, fresh conversation for us, and what we've been delighted at is the depth of the conversation we've been able to have with both state and federal funding agencies. Building an arts organisation is building a kind of a little world, and that world has the values, the ethics, the temperature, the personality that you make of it. What you put into it is what you get out of it. We wanted a world that was ferociously honest, highly focused on art, and produced objects of great beauty. The challenge is that as we've grown, more people come into that mix. More staff in the office, more partners, agents, presenters. When we started making the space between, it was me and 3 acrobats in a room. I'm currently in rehearsal for a project called Nocturne, which is me and 3 acrobats in a room. But behind that, there's Ben Napton, our associate director, there's a team of producers, there's a commissioning festival, there's DFAT funding, there's a range of agents, there's a promotional strategy. So the question is, how do we make this work searingly focused, uncompromising, not for a market, not to pursue, to second guess or endgame the kinds of partnerships that Joe was talking about, but rather what it really is and not disappoint any of that multitude of partners. Having the right partners is clearly a key start, being really clear about what you want to achieve and being able to take the kinds of risks that you need to do so to achieve it. Now, like many of you, I've recently completed a triennial funding application, and that was fun. Part of that application is a risk management strategy, where arts organisations explain to funding agencies and their boards and other stakeholders how they intend to avoid risk. I was wondering as I was writing it, where was the risk embracement strategy? Where were the KPIs for dreams dreamed? Where were the objectives for the beautiful failure? Where were the things that said, it may not work, but let's give it a go? As we're getting larger, and as we have more people who are dependent on us, both external people and internal people, and I'm really, I love having a company and being able to steward and look after a company where people have mortgages, where people enroll for several years of university knowing that they can complete that at the company. But while you have this increased sense of dependence on you, how do you retain your artistic, that's my attendance, your artistic edge and vigour? We don't have a single answer to it, but we're alive and awake to the challenge. When we produced Wunderkammer, a new work that's currently playing in a long run in Berlin and has just opened the Montreal International Circus Festival, I rang up a person, Joe, who works for us in London, and I said, "You've just seen everything at the London International Theatre Festival. I've got a kind of dumb, embarrassing question to ask you. We have a choice. I can make a show that is successful and easy, or I can make a show that's difficult and fucked up. What should I do?" And Joe said, "There's too much successful and easy stuff, make a difficult and fucked up show." And that's what I did. Much to all of our surprise, when the lights came down on opening night and I was expecting mute silence and complete indifference, the audience leapt to its feet. The show has over 400 bookings over the next 3 years, and has led to the creation of at least 8 new full-time jobs for Australian artists. So it's not a zero-sum game. I just want to, in conclusion, finish with something I discovered last night in Roberto Bolaño's new book, Between Parentheses. He talks about the best gang, and although he talks about poets, I think it can equally be as well applied to every theatre artist, director and arts worker. The best gang. If I had to hold up the most heavily guarded bank in Europe, and if I could choose my partners in crime, I'd take a gang of 5 poets, no question about it. 5 real poets, Apollonian or Dionysian, but always real. Always ready to live and die like poets, for no one else in the world is as brave as a poet. No one in the world faces disaster with more dignity or understanding. He concludes by saying, if I had to hold up the most heavily fortified bank in America, I'd take a gang of poets. The attempt would probably end in disaster, but it would be beautiful. Thank you.